Today is another day, and the AEW fan base and some of the, bad faith WWE supporters are absolutely running themselves into a brick wall over a Britt Baker t-shirt. So here's the appropriate context. Apparently during one of the fight scenes that Britt Baker did with the Outcast, she got a black eye. The Outcast then made a t-shirt with Britt Baker's black eye on the shirt. Britt Baker then tried to monetize it by making a PWT's shirt, which of course goes to AEWshop.com, with the black eye on the shirt. So she's selling these shirts now. And now people are yelling at Britt Baker because her shirt supposedly supports abuse against women and domestic violence. See, this is what happens when you cultivate a lot of politically minded yet low IQ people. This stuff is absolutely absurd. What made it even funnier is that wrestling media started getting involved with this. Like, some guy from Fightful was one of the top people angry about this, apparently. Or I guess you could say perturbed about this. He said, and I'm not going to say who his name is. He worked for Fightful. It's not Sean Ross Sapp. He says 90% of the population will have zero idea on what this is, and you'll be looked at as if you will support abusing women if you're wearing this in public around non-wrestling fans. Awful. So, Britt Baker, of course, again, is arguing with people online about it. She says, quote, to somebody, no, wait a minute. Let's put it in its full context. So she's talking, so she posts the shirt. Everybody gets upset. And then she says in kayfabe, I'm beyond furious, but the dipshit Outcast made the shirts. If someone's going to make a dime off my face on a shirt, it's going to be me. So some fan responded to her, can't believe AEW is trying to make money on a t-shirt that supports domestic violence. This shirt, in eyes of the public, is going to cause more harm than good. A lot of people don't even know what AEW stands for. And some dude wearing it in a bar, proudly shaking my head, a lot of black eyes. So Britt Baker then responds, supports domestic violence? How? I got a black eye in a ring. My enemies put a pic on a shirt to troll me, and I outsmarted them. Does that mean all the top-selling bloody t-shirts are supporting murder? If a male wrestler had a shirt with a black eye, would you be this pissed? Oh, boy. Oh, no. So somebody says, might be true, but it's weird out of context. She responds, that's insane that there's a weird out of context pro wrestling shirt. And then she posts a bunch of pro wrestling shirts that have blood on them and weird sayings like scissor me and all this kind of stuff. And so then the Fightful guy says, none of these shirts look like they promote abusing women, though. Again, he's stoking the flames. He's stoking these flames. Oh, no. So somebody mentions that they already had a Britt Baker shirt with her being bloody on it from the match with Thunder Rosa. So they already made a shirt that was actually far more violent than this one. And of course, the Fightful guy tries to find a way around this by saying, here's the difference between the one after the match against Thunder Rosa, and I think it was that match anyway, and this one. The one against Thunder Rosa was clearly a professionally done picture if you look at it. It has an AEW logo, clear as day, and there's wording above and below the image for at least some context. This one is a girl at her house, a hotel, wherever, taking a selfie with her with a big ass black eye. No words, no logos, genuinely nothing else. If you've never watched AEW, which 95% of the population hasn't, you definitely do a double take at the person wearing that shirt if they're just gallivanting in public on a random Tuesday afternoon. See, this is so weird. This is just incredibly strange stuff. Here's a different fan that said, the average person doesn't know who Britt Baker is and has no context for this shirt. Not a particularly bright idea. You wear this shirt in public, not around wrestling fans, you're either going to get the shit kicked out of you or the cops called. Why are we policing people's clothes? Like, why are we policing people's clothes this way? I don't care what people, look, as long as it doesn't have like grape on it or, you know, child molestation or something like that, I really could care less what kind of shirts people are wearing. I mean, it's really ridiculous. And somebody, of course, called it cap. So this, because, you know, you can't say anything on the internet without somebody responding. So the Fightful guy continues. So you wouldn't find it a little concerning if you saw a 6'2" grown-ass man wearing a shirt with a woman with a massive black eye on it happily in public? No. For starters, I wouldn't even be paying attention. That would be the odd thing, is I probably wouldn't be paying attention. Secondly, I would assume it was probably from some rock band or something like that. They always got skulls and snakes and devil horns, and, you know, they always got that kind of crap on there. I would imagine it was something. You know, if I didn't know anything about wrestling, I would imagine it had something to do with fighting, maybe MMA or something. I wouldn't have just jumped to, well, it's a woman in her house that got beat up by her husband. Like, you're implying a story onto an image where you said there's no context. So there's also no context to the domestic violence situation. There's not like a man's fist next to her face or anything like that. Like, it's just a woman with a black eye. We don't know how she got it. She could have got it in a car accident. Like, she could have got it fighting with her wife. We don't know how she got the black eye. There again, there's no context. It's just a picture. It's a Rorschach test, isn't it? Like, two people look at what is it called? 2 movies, 1 screen, where 2 people look at something and they get different things out of it. Like, your brain naturally is going to create a story around that image, you know? So I'm supposed to wear my clothes based off of a story that somebody else came up with in their own head. That seems very, that doesn't work for me, brother. Let's put it like that. Doesn't quite work for me, brother. But then here comes, we get into a little bit into the meat of the thing. Somebody says, y'all are spending more time and energy on that stupid ass Britt Baker shirt than WWE being sued for racism and Vince McMahon being a rapist. This is directly towards people talking more about the Britt Baker shirt than the WWE lawsuit and Vince McMahon getting away with sexual assault. If this doesn't apply to you, maybe try not to cry about it. Yes. What aboutism? What about this? Like, people have been talking about this stuff for years now. But here's the situation that's very interesting. People have been calling Vince McMahon a rapist and talking about WWE being racist for 40 years. So essentially, somebody's thrown out a lawsuit saying, oh, WWE is racist. Well, that's like a dog bites man story, right? Like, a dog bit you. Oh, that's not news. A racist company is racist. That's not news. A rapist is a rapist. That's not really news. But something like this, which is mostly a miscommunication more than anything, because most people just are bored with life, if we're being honest. They don't have enough bitches. They don't have no money. They don't have a job or something like that. You just don't have anything important to do with your life. So you want to argue about this goddamn dumbass t-shirt. This seems silly to me, but it's a whataboutism. Whataboutisms are like one of the worst versions of argumentation, because you could talk about all of these things, and just because you're upset about something doesn't mean you being upset is valid. That's the worst thing we have done in society, is that we made people think that their opinions matter when your opinion doesn't matter. And we've made people believe that everything that they think is valid when it's not. Okay. So we need to get back to, some people speak and we don't need to listen to them. And we also need to get back to just because you're upset about something doesn't mean everyone else has to care. All right. But because this guy didn't even at the Fightful guy, didn't even respond to the Fightful guy. Okay. So the Fightful guy sought this comment out and responded, yeah, because it's possible to be against our star people. Because, you know, they don't, you know, when you're SJW, when you can't even write the word rape. Yeah, because it's impossible to be against racism and domestic violence, and we have to choose one to fit a wrestling tribalism agenda instead. My bad. Domestic violence. Where did he get this from? Why is domestic violence? Where do we get the domestic violence part from? I don't get this. There's nothing about this that makes people think that it's a domestic violence. So he starts to argue with random fans, saying that they're skirting around the question of, you saw this guy wearing a shirt like this in Olive Garden, what would you do? Nothing. Mind my fucking business and eat my breadsticks. I don't give a fuck about his t-shirt. Why would I care? Especially if the woman he's with, I'm assuming he's with a woman, it's not the woman on the shirt. I don't care. Again, people wear rock band stuff. Am I supposed to believe every time somebody wears a skull on a shirt that he killed somebody and he supports the murder of people? It's a rock band. They have weird stuff on these shirts. You go to Hot Topic, you can find anything. People have cartoons of shows that they never even watched on t-shirts. It's a t-shirt. I don't care. Nobody with any common sense would give a shit. Nobody would give a shit. It's a t-shirt. Sir. He says, quote, so he continues to argue with people. You said you wouldn't fight them or call the cops. You didn't say you didn't or didn't find it concerning if a grown man was wearing it out in public. Absolute bozo behavior. He says, so the other guy who was talking about, apparently he was responding to this guy, the Vince McMahon rape guy. He says, quote, this is the Vince McMahon rape guy again. He says, you work for Fightful, which means you really can't cover the Vince McMahon WWE stuff like you do a stupid Britt Baker shirt, because then you might not get to go to those WWE press conferences where you applaud when a wrestler walks in. And that's a pretty nice burn. That's a pretty good burn. So the guy responds, says, I work for Fightful's MMA side, buddy. Again, I don't expect you to know these things, but I do expect you to maybe take 15 seconds out of your time to do a minimum amount of research before commenting on things you have no clue about. And then he says, so of course, he's getting trolled at this point. And he's too stupid to know it, right? So the guy says, MMA side, instead of being afraid to truly cover Vince McMahon, you're afraid to truly cover Dana White? And is it my fault everything with the word Fightful attached to it has little credibility? Maybe tell your boys on the wrestling side to try to be a little bit more objective. So, because he's an idiot, he responded, we had myself and another writer for the MMA side cover Dana slapping his wife on New Year's Eve in 6 different articles within 48 hours of it happening, including 2 other articles condemning the dumbass slap fight show he started. Would you like us to jump him in his sleep or something? Yeah, buddy. How about I was working the Dana White beat? You know, how many hours did you clock into the Dana White beat? The Vince McMahon beat. How much time did you put in? Like, these people are retarded. You sat and wrote 6 articles about Dana White? 6? How do you justify writing 6? How do you justify writing 6 articles on a 30-second, like, okay, you talk about the thing that happened. All right. So that's the straight up news. Maybe you do an analysis piece when some information comes out. You wait for Endeavor, UFC statement to come out. Maybe you write an article, an update about that. And that's about 3, maybe 4. How do you get to 6? Maybe you write some other people's opinions, or, you know, you ask some other people about it, or, you know, something like that. But that all might go into like the first 2 articles, right? You say he wrote 6. He said he wrote 6. Well, you got that beat well covered. Sheesh. These people are retarded. Anyway, so he's continuously being trolled by saying, no, I'd like you to stop pretending that Britt Baker's shirt is anywhere near the same level. Again, this guy is too stupid to realize he's being trolled. He said, I said it's possible to condemn all bad shit regardless of which company or business it pertains to. Shut the fuck up. And then it's pretty weird. It's pretty weird. And then he continues, I'm getting dragged by people with professional wrestlers as their profile pictures for saying I condemn rape, racism, and domestic violence because I don't spend 27 hours a day tweeting about how bad of a person the old pervert that runs WWE is. What a scumbag I am. He's in his feelings now. Right now he's really deep in his feelings. So he's really deep in his feelings. And he said, and he about to kind of throw himself for a loop here. So he's getting trolled again. And the guy says, making that Britt Baker shirt a case of domestic violence so that you could spend less time talking about Vince McMahon being an actual rapist and racist is exactly why you supposed wrestling journalists are fucking jokes. Now, this guy, of course, is scoring many likes and retweets off this subject. This guy is just basically grifting off of arguing with this Fightful dude. He's grifting off this shit. And this Fightful dude is too damn stupid to see what's happening. He's too stupid to see what's happening. So then the Fightful guy continues, I live cover wrestling shows and write about betting odds for sports, you fucking bozo. I don't know who claimed to be a journalist. Also, before you decided to comment ignorantly, you see I spent probably a full 24 hours condemning that old pervert. Wouldn't expect anything different from someone with that profile picture and username though. Which is the guy he's arguing with has a Roman Reigns profile picture, which of course, you know, he's being trolled, but he's stupid. He's stupid, right? He's responding to this guy with a Roman Reigns profile picture. And he's trolling him. It's pretty dumb. It's pretty dumb. And he says, I'm getting cooked by 17 accounts with Tony Khan profile pictures who told me I had to spend my entire day condemning the lawsuit against Vince and the writing team because I work for Fightful. After I said, quote, the Britt Baker shirt isn't a great look without context if worn in public. It's like, yeah, maybe you just shouldn't have that strong of an opinion about a wrestling shirt. All right, so that was the end of that nonsense. That's what got my attention, really, was this guy arguing with some bot account, which now apparently has racked up plenty of new followers on account of him dunking repeatedly on this Fightful dude, which is how I'm a bigger SJW than you, which is the only kind of conversation they could possibly have. You know, none of this stuff that they're talking about is even legit. If you actually read the lawsuit, you see Vince wasn't even really involved at all with the lawsuit. So, you know, that was, if you actually read it, you would know that. As far as the whole rapist stuff, is like somebody said he was a rapist. Nobody actually proved anything. You know, the person who made the rape accusation disappeared for 30 fucking years. The only people who was talking about it was folks on the fringe of the wrestling media, like Bixen Span and stuff like that. Nobody else took it fucking seriously. Mainstream media had it out in the news for 30 years. Nobody took that shit seriously, but whatever. We're going to move on because other people had their opinions too. And their opinions, again, not entirely valid, but might be funny. But it's one of those things where, again, it's 2 movies, 1 screen. You look at the shirt and you take what you want from it. All right, here's one genius. This might be the worst wrestling shirt ever. Definitely not a good look. I can't imagine anyone actually wearing this in public. Try explaining this to a non-wrestling fan. Why would I want to do that? Why would I want to go around explaining my clothes to people who don't get it? I mean, is that what you do when you wear like a shirt for like a rock band or something like that? You have to go around apologizing like why you have like metal skulls on your shirt. I'm sorry, man. I just like the music. Bro, they probably lock you up in a mental hospital. You'll be standing in the middle of the mall yelling all day at people. Come on, bro. I just like the drums, man. It's like you don't have to explain your clothes to people. You really don't. And I just think it's very weird that these same people. No, I'm not gonna say that. Not gonna say it. Let's just move on. Before I don't want to get detoured into anything else about clothing and people wearing clothing that probably are inappropriate. Okay, so here's another one. Anyone who walks around wearing this shirt should be considered a danger to women. The police will follow anyone they see with this shirt. Wow. New domestic violence fan merch just dropped. Wow. The designer of this shirt, and it's a picture of... it's a picture of Ike Turner. This shirt could be problematic if worn in public. Oh, God. You wear this and people are going to think you hit women. Wow. I love Britt, but who in their right mind will wear this shirt, especially in public? Somebody says the lazy trend of putting pictures on t-shirts needs to stop. And that's the least of the issues with this. It's just a black t-shirt with her picture on it, and you can see her black eye. It's crazy. Somebody said, I would heavily suggest not buying this or wearing this in public unless you want to look like the biggest red flag imaginable. Of course, everybody keeps saying, imagine walking around in public in this, as if you could walk around in public in any wrestling shirt. 99% of wrestling merchandise looks like it's for little kids because it is. Okay? 99% of wrestling merchandise is for fucking children, not for grown men to go on dates on. You know, I'm about to put on my good Stone Cold shirt for this date. What the fuck, you idiot? You need to be you definitely need the cops. If you walk around in your Bloodline shirt and you're going to a date, you will only wear wrestling gear to wrestling shows or other kinds of conventions where other nerds who would know about it. Like, who the fuck just goes to work wearing a Bullet Club shirt? Like, what's wrong with you? Unless you work at the comic book store or something like that, why would you be dressed like that? Oh, goodness. It's been 5 years and they still haven't learned that not everything needs to be made into a shirt. Wow. I love Britt, and she is one of the few reasons I watch AEW, but this is too much. The other shirt she had with blood is one thing because she's in a wrestling ring with wrestling gear. It has context. This does not. I don't. Somebody, of course, it had to be racial. You want a black man to go to jail. Yeah, gotta be racial, you know. Good Lord. Why would anyone wear this even knowing the context, given the obvious perception of any normal person on the street? This Outcast storyline is actually the worst thing to happen to AEW in general, not just the women's division. I would imagine the top star and the EVPs getting into a fight backstage, which leads to all of them being suspended, was probably the worst thing to happen to AEW. I would imagine that's the worst thing that could happen to AEW. I'm just saying. It's a stupid t-shirt that you don't have to buy or wear. Or even the women's, this storyline, which sucks, but worse than costing people multi-millions of dollars and all the money that could have been made for shows that could have been worked that weren't. Then, of course, all the podcasts and bad PR that came out of it. I don't know, man. Oh, no. As a black man, I would probably get killed for wearing this. Well, look, this ain't 1950s Mississippi. Trust me, you'll be okay, you piece of dumbass. If you're a man and you wear this shirt, you deserve to be put on a watch list. That's how these people think, you know? It's crazy to me that this is basically a deep dive into the psyche of certain people from a political perspective. They want you under constant fucking surveillance, you know, even for wearing t-shirts that they disapprove of. They want you under surveillance they think you should be locked up, attacked, or something because you put on a t-shirt that they disapprove of. I wish, sometimes I wish I was on video. Cause half the time I just shake my head and just be like, I'm dumbfounded by this. That these people truly believe this junk. You know, it's ridiculous. Wrestling companies, not everything needs to be a t-shirt. Yes, we know this. This looks like a pro-domestic violence shirt. Oh my goodness. If I wore this shirt at my job, I'd be fired and banned. If you wear a wrestling shirt to work, you deserve to get fired. I don't give a fuck. Unless you work at a comic book shop or a record store. I mean, there's certain contexts, like if you worked at Spencer's Gifts or something like that, maybe I would expect it. But there are certain jobs where if you're just wearing a t-shirt to work, it's kind of unprofessional, if you ask me. You know, it's like when people wear goddamn Crocs to work. I hate people who wear Crocs to work. God damn, that's lazy. Anyway, people are going to think you're wearing a picture of your girl, of you giving her a black eye. And they LOL'd at that. Oh my goodness. Oh boy. There are so many ways AEW could have taken this photo and used it to make a cool shirt. But I just don't think the photo itself makes for the iconic where were you when where were you when kind of design. Like maybe if it had a caption or something, it could work. Oh, what? Schools used to get mad at kids for wearing the blood from a Stone Cold t-shirt. Imagine wearing a shirt with just a picture of a woman with a black eye. Imagine wearing that anywhere. Like, wow. I mean, women need to be protected. They even need to be protected from the image of them with black eyes, despite the fact that we also want them to be in physical sports. We want them in MMA. We want them in boxing. We want them in pro wrestling. But heavens to Betsy, they might get a black eye. What are you thinking? What? Very, very weird. Very weird. Jesus Christ. So another Fightful dipshit got into another debate with somebody else. This one was a little bit more friendly, but Fightful decided they was going to die on this hill, apparently. So here's the no-named wrestler. I guess, oh, this person is from PW Insider. Well, I guess they're a contributor. Ooh, fancy. I'm going to be that person to say that if a male wrestler with a black eye, no one would care. If women wearing their wrestling wounds makes them look like a, quote, battered woman, maybe you're just not as okay with women wrestling as you think. Well, I think I just made this point, right? That we all want to see women in MMA, but they can't get hurt. We want to see them in boxing, but God, heavens to Betsy, they might get punched. You know, but we want them wrestling, but no, we don't want to see them bleed or get them see a black eye or anything like that. It's like, well, that's a good point. So, Fightful idiot responded, for me, it's the fact that it looks like some of the selfies taken by women I know who were collecting evidence of abuse. It's the fact that it doesn't look like a wrestling image, you know? Emotions are running wild. This emotions running wild. So the PWI contributor responds, I get it, but it's also just a wrestling image by its literal creation. I don't find it aesthetically pleasing, but it fits Britt's character and story. It feels undermining that women wrestlers who look beat up are categorized as looking abused or not abused. That's a good point. I mean, heavens to Betsy. Is anytime a woman sports a scrape, it's just evidence of domestic violence? Oh no, bad things doesn't happen to people, so everything is domestic violence. So then Fightful idiot continues, I don't think it's a good idea for men to walk around with photos of bruised women on their shirts. That part of my opinion has nothing to do with wrestling and everything to do with rising global levels of violence against women. To me, it's about more than Britt Baker's story. Jesus H. Christ. It feels like, you know, what Jordan Peterson said to Joe Rogan, that our lives is like a fantasy of a neurotic 13-year-old girl. And I feel like that's kind of where we live now, where there's constant worry, constant jealousy, constant, you know, angst. It's like not everything is a panic like this. Not everything is going to, you know, needs to be connected to domestic violence on the other side of the globe. It's just a wrestling t-shirt, all right? Whether you like it or not, that's literally all it is a wrestling t-shirt. It's not like somebody who literally beats their wife is going to buy this shirt saying, guess what, bro? I beat the shit out of my wife this morning, and this shirt perfectly represents how I feel, bro. So I'm going to wear this shirt to show people you don't fuck with me, man. Nobody thinks like that because nobody fucking does that. So why are we even entertaining that this thing could possibly be domestic violence? It's ridiculous. What AEW is currently suffering from in terms of public relations is the audience that they cultivated, or the seeds that they planted in 2019, where they all but promised to be a more progressive wrestling company than the WWE. They cultivated this terminally online, permanently offended, easy to rile up, zombie cult-like audience that takes things one way. You're not allowed to have a second opinion. You're not allowed to look at things from multiple ways or to get secondary sources of information. They cultivated this audience. They had no idea, as typically cult leaders tend not to truly understand, is that eventually you whip up a mob and you lose control of the mob. You know, this is what happens every single time. Whether it's a wrestler, it's called the madness of crowds. Okay, you whip up all these idiots. You try to bond with them over having a devil, which is Vince McMahon in this case. Anything you say about him is true, regardless, and that's your nice little bonding moment. But in order for your religion to work, you also need like a godlike figure, right? And sometimes AEW will have these times where they will have these godlike figures. CM Punk, Tony Khan, Danielson, Jericho, Moxley. Jericho not so much. But over the years, there have been bits and chunks taken out of these godlike figures. You know, the Elite got into it with CM Punk, so now you split the audience there. Tony Khan has weird behaviors. He's also the son of a billionaire. So take chunks out of there. Britt Baker, with her permanent beef with Thunder Rosa. Apparently they're very upset with her about this All Access show. And now this t-shirt that she actually defending the right to put her own face on a t-shirt. They're arguing with her about that. Cody left them. They bigged up Cody as one of the gods. He left. They're mad at him. So the cult has taken a couple of hits. And now it's starting to run wild, where they just kind of like, all right, they go back to their roots. Their roots are terminally online, permanently offended. They're going to find something to be upset about. And the longer you go on, the less that new car smell exists for AEW, the more they're going to start coming after you. Because you were the one who promised them all of this stuff and now you can't do it. Or you trying to be a normal person and you're being attacked by these people. And of course the WWE fans are just there because they're licking their chops for anything to attack AEW about because they're tribalists. But a lot of AEW's own fans are against them for like a lot of the things that they do. Like I've started seeing like What Culture accounts saying that, oh, this is some of the worst stuff I've ever seen on Dynamite. These people who liked pretty much everything 2 years ago, they're grumbling a lot today. You know, Tony Khan has not done a good job of keeping the cult intact. It's starting to fray at the seams. And I think the CM Punk thing really blew the doors off of it. Because then it became the CM Punk fans versus the Elite fans. And you really started to see what side the media was on And then as more feuds happened, like Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, you saw what side the media was on. And, you know, Cody left and you saw what side the media was on. And you started seeing this, again, this fraying at the seams where it's not Woodstock anymore. Every episode of Dynamite isn't a big, you know, bonfire to WWE. You know, it's, yeah, fuck Vince McMahon. Even though when they try to do that stuff, it doesn't last as long as it used to. Because they used to circle the wagons over little things. Now they got big issues to complain about. They can't even manage to hold their attention for more than a couple of hours. That's because they're terminally online, constantly searching for the next dopamine hit of likes and retweets and attention. And because so many of them are constantly searching for likes, retweets, and attention, you get stuff like this. This is not a big deal. It's not. It's literally not. You're neurotic. You see a person wearing a t-shirt with a woman with a black eye. Why would you immediately jump to domestic violence? That's completely over the top. First thing would go to my mind is if somebody making a t-shirt that's kind of weird like that, my mind go to rock band. You know, that's where I would go with it. Or it's boxing or MMA or something like that. That's where I would go with it. I would not go domestic violence. Maybe because I'm not stupid and I don't think somebody would make a t-shirt of domestic violence. Like literal domestic violence. I don't think people would make a t-shirt of that. But people have made t-shirts of, you know, weird stuff. But the idea that these people want you under surveillance, or that you're paying so close attention to everybody and what everybody is wearing, that they're willing to call the police, or they think the police will be called on you for wearing a t-shirt, it just seems nonsensical to me. You know, that your brain would even go that far. Like, I don't know when we got to this point, but we're here now. And these are the fans that are on the AEW side. Some of them are on the WWE side. They're just being negative. But it's kind of embarrassing. And I wish they would stop. All right. What say you guys? Like, share, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.